Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Let's start our evening with a nigun, a song without words. Yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai. Yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai. Then we'll go right back to the beginning. Yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai. Well, once again, Shabbat Shalom. I still love getting a response to that. It's always very, very energizing. It is so nice to have all of you here with us, however you are joining us. If you are in the room, if you're joining us from home, on TV, on one of your devices, there are so many nowadays. But wherever you are, we here at Schaarai Zedek believe that it is as if you are with us in the sanctuary, all of our voices raising in song together, all of our spirits turned in the same direction on this special Shabbat. So tonight we will be showing the prayer book on screens, and I'm 100% certain it is there for all of you. You'll all be able to see it. If you are in the sanctuary or you have a prayer book of your own, we will have page numbers available in the room. And if you're at home, you can feel free to explore. One of the things I love about having a prayer book is that with the slides, we're all in the same place most of the time, except when we're not paying attention. But that's okay too. But when you have a prayer book, you can wander around a little bit. You can be on a different page than someone else. Those are real moments of prayer too. Wherever your heart takes you on this Shabbat, follow it, because that's probably going to get you to the place you most need to be. So, on this Shabbat, as we welcome in Shabbat with the light of our candles, we are inviting someone up to do so. Lynn, do you want to light candles? Do you and Ram want to light candles? Yeah, feel free. I mean, they're lit, but you'll say our blessing. You're very happy to be on the Bima. I'm sure it's been a long time. All right.
Okay. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. And we'll sing together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. are at home, feel free to get your Kiddush cups ready.
Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who finding favor with us, sanctified us with mitzvot. In love and favor, you have made the Holy Shabbat our heritage as a reminder of the works of creation. As first among our sacred days, it recalls the exodus from Egypt. You chose us and set us apart from the peoples. In love and favor, you have given us your Holy Shabbat as an inheritance. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat.
Amen. And we'll
Baruch
sing
atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon inchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon inchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. L'chaim. Linrod, thank you so much for leading us in our Shabbat blessings, bringing light and sweetness into this holy day. And we'll begin our service with words of welcome. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim kam yachad. How good and how wonderful it is that we can be here together. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim kam yachad. 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 How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim kam yachad. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim kam yachad. Let's read together. God, help us now to make this a new Shabbat. After noise, we seek quiet. After crowds of indifferent strangers, we seek to touch those we love. After concentration on work and responsibility, we seek freedom to meditate, to listen to our inward selves. We open our eyes to the hidden beauties and the infinite possibilities in the world you are creating. We break open the gates of the reservoirs of goodness and kindness in ourselves and in others. We reach toward one holy, perfect moment of Shabbat. And we rise in our places or in our hearts for the Baruchu, our call to worship. Yai la lai lai, yai lai 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 lai. Yai la lai lai, yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai. Yai la lai lai, yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai. Yai la lai lai, yai lai 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 lai. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. And we'll read together. God, you listen to prayer. Hear our prayers when they are worth listening to. God, you are one. Hear us when we are one people. Hear each of us when we speak as a whole person, a single one. God, you create. Hear us when we try to create a loving relationship or a better ground for a growing soul or hope. God, you know us. Help us to summon our souls to stretch with utmost love toward you. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Blessed are you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto le'olam va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto le'olam va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. We are seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha vehayu hadvarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha vishinantam levanecha vidibarta bam beshivtecha bevetecha uvlechtecha vaderech B'shochbecha uvkumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot bein einecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha, leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai, vitem kedoshim lelohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem lelohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. We'll read together. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Yai lai 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 yai lai 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 ya la lai yai lai 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 ya la 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 lai ya lai 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 yai lai ya la lai ya la lai lai ya la 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 lai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, Norah tehilot osei feleh, Norah tehilot osei feleh. Malchutecha ra'uvanecha, bokei ayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Ze'elianu ve'amru, Ze'elianu ve'amru, Adonai imlo le'olam ba'ed, Adonai imlo le'olam ba'ed. V'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov, u'gialo mi'ad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time. It is a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days Adonai made heaven and earth, and on the 7th day God ceased from work and was refreshed. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat Lidorotam berit olam Uvayom hashvi'i Shavat vayinafash Shavat vayinafash Shavat vayinafash V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat Lidorotam berit olam. We now rise in our places or in our hearts for the Amidah. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, v'Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol atah Rav lehoshia. Morid hatal, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim. Somech noflim berofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar. Micha mocha ba'al gevurot, Umidom elach, Melech meimit u'mechayeh, u'matzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atah l'hachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. We are seated. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kdoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. And we'll read together. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. And on Shabbat, which is a day for each of us to find a little bit of peace, we also sing a prayer of peace for the whole world. And I think we say this all the time, that we need peace now more than ever. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. And it is in the presence of our sacred community that we take a moment to think about those who cannot be here because of illness, those ailing in mind, body, or spirit, those who lie on beds of pain, those who work so hard to help make them healthy. Think of all of those people. If there's someone you're thinking of at this time, someone in need of healing, feel free to take their name now and hold it very tightly in your heart for just a moment. And we'll take all of those names, all of those people we're thinking of, and sing our prayer of healing, Misha Berach, together. Misha Berach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Rofei HaCholim. Blessed are you, God, who heals the sick. We take a moment now to give some thought to the prayer inscribed on our hearts. yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. Here we go with the lilays. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Oh, say shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. So, for those of you who don't know, I've been in Florida for a year. I moved down from Cincinnati, so I've been in the Northeast, I've been in the Midwest, I've lived in Canada. And there were a lot of things I didn't know about Florida before I moved down here. But one of the things that I had heard about was Florida drivers. Right? See, the immediate reactions. Right? I think a different thing probably comes to mind for each of us when we hear it. Maybe they drive too slow or too fast. Maybe they never use turn signals. Maybe they careen from one lane to the other. Maybe they go the wrong way down roads or turn into the wrong lane. And maybe they're driving around with some kind of exotic animal that they really shouldn't have in the first place. Let me know if I'm totally wrong. I'm sure you'll have all kinds of creative interpretations. But I think you get the idea, right? I can't quite figure out exactly what it means to be a Florida driver. But I know what I heard before I moved down here, and now I am one. So there's no way around it. But one of the things this made me think about is how much energy I spend passing judgment on people in cars around me while I'm driving. The most frustrated you will ever see me is behind the wheel of my car having an imaginary dialogue with the people around me. Like, hey, slow down, speed racer, right? Or speed up, depending. My speed is the only right one. Like, hey, pass me on the right. Yeah, that's just fine. Or like, oh, your turn signal must be broken, right? Things like that. Maybe I have the normal response. Maybe that's just what a lot of people do. We see someone going against the way we imagine the world should work, and in our minds, they become a threat to the order that we cherish. They have mounted a rebellion against common decency by not signaling and must be punished with our impotent rage, about which they will never know or care. But part of the problem with this approach is, A, when someone sees you yelling at another car through the window at an intersection, but B, it's that we're not seeing the full picture of what's going on. Right? I am in my car assuming the worst about someone that I know nothing about. Right? What about every time that person has done something wonderful and praiseworthy? What about, maybe the trouble and stress that they're dealing with on a daily basis? We all have those. And what if this was the one day that their turn signal was truly broken? But seriously use turn signals. Thank you. So our double Torah portion this week, Matot Maseh, which ends the book of Numbers, has a lot in it. But in part, it tells a story of assuming the worst, of doubting intentions. So after having wandered the wilderness for 40 years, the people of Israel found themselves on the eastern bank of the Jordan River. That's the way they came in. They went around the bottom of the Promised Land and came in from the east. And they are preparing to cross over to this land that God has promised them. However, after a successful military campaign against the Midianites, which we won't get into now, the Israelite army had just captured some very fertile land for grazing cattle. And who was eyeing it but two tribes of cowboys, the tribes of Reuben and Gad. They had a lot of cattle. They actually were cowboys. So Reuben and Gad, representatives from these tribes, go to Moses and ask to be given that land so they could build homes and pasture their livestock. Makes sense, right? They're already in a place perfect for cows. Let's just stay here. They didn't want to cross the Jordan with the rest of the people of Israel. And Moses is furious. He rages. Are your brothers to go to war while you stay here? Why will you turn the minds of the Israelites from crossing into the land that God has given them? So Moses recalls the shameful account of the 10 spies who, through their doubt about being able to capture the land of Israel, they condemned the people of Israel to wander for 40 years. And then Moses continues. And now you, a breed of sinful men, have replaced your fathers to add still further to God's wrath against Israel. If you turn away from God and God abandons them once more in the wilderness, you will bring calamity upon all this people. So the Torah has been clear about Moses being a little intense, but this feels like a little much. Maybe he hadn't had his coffee yet. Or someone in front of him wasn't using their turn signals. Regardless, one of the tribal representatives speaks up and assures Moses that the men of Reuben and Gad will build their homes, leave their families there, and then join up with the rest of the tribes to complete the military conquest of the Promised Land. And Moses says, oh, okay. I'm paraphrasing. So the Reubenites and the Gadites came to this conversation with the intention to continue offering their services, fighting for the people of Israel. But Moses wasn't able to hear that at first. Moses was afraid that the disaster that condemned the generation that left Egypt to death would repeat, or that two tribes entering the land would encourage others to avoid it as well. Perhaps Moses' anger and fear and hurt caused him to withhold the benefit of the doubt. But when he gave the tribes a chance to share their intentions, to clarify what they meant, it turned out that there was never really a problem to begin with. There's actually another story about the tribes of Reuben and Gad in the book of Joshua, which is almost a sequel to this one, with the same characters and similar themes. After the people conquer the land and assign everyone their territory, Joshua meets with the heads of Reuben, Gad, and now the tribe of Manasseh too. They wanted in on this land across the river, to wish them well and to send them back to the other side of the Jordan River, warning them to faithfully keep God's commandments. When they go back to their homesteads, they take their newfound wealth, the spoils of war, and build a mizbeach gadol lemareh, a large and conspicuous altar. Perhaps a direct rival to the tabernacle, the portable temple the Israelites built in the wilderness. A report reaches the Israelites, rumors that these tribes have built their own altar. Everyone hears about it, and immediately the other tribes muster at Shiloh to prepare for war against them because of an altar. But first, wisely, Joshua sends a delegation of tribal chieftains to negotiate, led by Pinchas, who, if you remember last week's Torah portion, just ran two people through with a spear. So a very level-headed negotiator, right? No, so he's a stab first, ask questions later kind of guy. But this is the message that he delivered to the tribes. Thus said the whole of God's community, what is this treachery that you have committed this day against the God of Israel? Turning away from God, building yourselves an altar, and rebelling this day against God. If you rebel against God today, tomorrow God will be angry with the whole community of Israel. Right? Same idea. If you do bad, we're all going to get punished. But the leaders of Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh do not understand. They are, in fact, aghast. Right? They implore, El Elohim Adonai, El Elohim Adonai, God, 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 God. They're serious. That's how you know. God knows, and Israel too shall know. if we acted in rebellion or in treachery against God, do not vindicate us this day. So, as it turned out, the 3 tribes were afraid that with the borders of the Jordan River between them and the rest of the people of Israel, that they might be ostracized somewhere down the road, that the children of the other tribes might not see the children of Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh as part of Israel because they're from the other side of the river. They thus built a large altar on the riverbank to serve as a witness that they were still loyal to God, a symbol that they were part of the community bound by God's commandments. Pinchas, for once, leaves his spear by his side, and a war is averted. Now, I know I really enjoyed reading these 2 stories alongside each other for a few reasons. One reason is they show us that people can change. Pinchas, the war priest, who in his younger days was consumed by violent zeal, leads a diplomatic mission, and through honest conversation, stops a war before it starts. But these stories also teach us a great deal about giving people the benefit of the doubt. The instinct to judge others unfavorably is a part of human nature. A 2014 study from the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences claims that something called motive attribution asymmetry is at the heart of many conflicts in our world. Different sides of a conflict tend to operate under the assumption that their rivals are impelled by motives opposite to theirs. So, for example, the people of Israel thought Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh built the altar out of hate for God, when it was truly built out of love for God. And what drives this asymmetry is when people refuse to talk to each other. How can we know someone else's motivations just by guessing? It is so easy to paint a picture of someone else in a particular way when we don't understand them or where they're coming from. But once we engage with them with genuine curiosity, it tends to turn out that a lot of what we assume about them doesn't hold true anymore. Now, the benefit of the doubt can be a little dangerous. Sometimes there are people who will take advantage of that. Sometimes there are people who only care about winning, who won't engage in good faith discourse. But these cases should not stop us from pursuing real connections, even with people we disagree with. Our tradition teaches us that a single person's life is worth the equivalent of the entire world. And this too means that each person's story is as valuable as our own, and something we should listen to. El Elohim Adonai, God, Lord God, help us listen to each other with empathy and interest. Help us learn to live alongside each other in peace. Shabbat Shalom. And we'll continue with some announcements. Just a couple. Torah study tomorrow at 9 a.m. It is both accessible on Zoom and in our Fishman Chapel room over here in the temple. So feel free to come by here. Feel free to join us on your computer screen as well. We are all going to be able to see each other, which I think is the most important part. And study Torah. Next Thursday, that is the 15th, we have our senior luncheon from 11:15 to 1. And that will be at the temple. You should RSVP on our website, zedek.org. It will be a meet and greet with the new assistant rabbi who got here a year ago. I hear he's kind of interesting, so we'll see. I will be taking questions. Feel free to try to stump me about my own life, I guess. But you can also feel free to join in the discussion at noon, even if you don't come here for lunch with us. There is food. And then next Saturday night, it's a little ways off, but I want people thinking about it. We are having a movie night. We are going to be watching one of my favorite movies, Pleasantville, starring Tobey Maguire and Reese Witherspoon. Wonderful movie, a lot to talk about. And it's also Tisha B'Av, which isn't typically a night that we watch a fun movie, but it's a great opportunity to talk about what it means to build community, what it means to repair our world and deal with changing times. It should be really interesting. And that You can also join on Zoom for the discussion at 8:15, and you don't need to RSVP for that. So, with all of those things said, we are going to begin to conclude our service with Aleinu, and we rise. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, la'tet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoye ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam. Vanachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu v'nemar v'hayadonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu Bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. And we are seated. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. It's at this time that our community turns our attention to those who have passed in recent days. Fanny Bellow-Trout, John Lewis Corson Jr., Alice Di Watts, and Roberta Hoffman. And to those names we add those whose yahrzeits we commemorate on this Shabbat. Edward J. Adrian, Arthur Altshuler, Terry Barkin, Herda Mutti Bear, Beverly Berlin, Jerry Blitzer, Jean Boaz, Dora Buff, Herbert Kalman, Sophie Curson, Margaret Davis, Julius Dubrow, Rosalie Fate, Philip Feldman, George Farrell, Selig Sonny Flaum, Helen Flom, Martha Glasser, Debbie Glickman, Esther Green, George Green, Rabbi Sidney Hoffman, Irene Huggins, Jack Israeloff, Louis Jacobson, Myron Jaffe, Paul Keller, Elsie S. Lesserman, Sanford Malcolm Luke Spare, Samuel J. Mack, Meyer Magellan, Carful Malbine, Fanny Marks, Joel Ronnie Medjbo, Dr. Herman Kessler Moore, Michael Norman, Theodore Passon, Jack Weiss Paddock, Carol Peckett, Joshua M. Perfit, Lucille Rosenberg Poller, Miriam Rabo, Anna Rakoff, Abranita Rome Ryson, Jean Rich, Elaine Rogan, Sholem Rosenblum, Adele Rosenkrantz, Helen Rosenstock, Maurice M. Savoy, Esther Schertzer, Alfred Schiff, Les Schreiber, Jane Livingston Siegel, Arlene Shamanesh, Herbert Solomon, Mary Stein, Sidney Stesis, Phyllis Stone, Lois J. Tannenbaum, Jeffrey Wershow, Alex Yeseno, Earl M. Zander, Dory Zalesnik, Dottie Zellman, and Dora Heller-Zoller. And to those names we add the names of all of our loved ones. And if there's someone you're thinking of tonight, I want you to just take a moment and remember them as they were in their strongest, kindest, and brightest moment. With all those names in mind, we'll rise together as a community for the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Be'alma divirach hirutev yamlich malchutev. B'chayechon uv'yomechon. Uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala v'izman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehe shemei Rabbah mevorach leolam ulalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shemei dekudesha brichu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And we say together, Amen. And so we come now to the closing song of our service, but even as the service comes to an end, we remember that our Friday night service is just the beginning of a full day of Shabbat, where we can rededicate ourselves to the work that we need to do for ourselves, as opposed to the work that we need to do for everyone else. And we'll be closing with, I think we're going to do Maya Hayom, Robert. How do you feel about that? It's a beautiful piece. Just give me a key. See, it's like jazz. There we go. Maya Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Maya Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
portrait. There is a truth in every tale, and all the days that came before us are as the wind upon our sails.
There is a forest in every father as he stands amidst the wild. There is a mountain in every mother, her sturdy force of heart and mind. Shines on and on.
just had to tell you, when I was lost I found you as a refuge. So let me in, cause I just wanna be close to you. Today is the day, so live it up, up and away. Fly high over all that you have made, and I will praise your name. Pete Huli, Schaarai Zedek, Avovam, Odea. Open for me, honestly, pull the gates wide, let them swing right open, and I will run through. Pete Huli. This me is brand new, and I can do whatever I want to. I say whatever I set my mind to. When nobody expected, but the stone that the builders rejected has become the most important piece. So you will hear from me, Pete Huli, Schaarai Zedek, Avovam, Odea. Open for me, honestly, pull the gates wide, let them swing right open, and I will run through. Pete Huli. Huli, Schaarai Zedek, Avovam, Odea. Open for me, honestly, pull the gates wide, let them swing right open, and I will run through. Pete Huli.
תבושי ולא תקמי, מה תשתוכחי ומה תמי. בך יחסו עניי עמי, ונבנתה עיר על תלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, Adonai Taritzi Al Yad Ish Ben Partzi Ben Ismecha Ben Nagila Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah Boi v'shalom Ateret bala Gam b'simcha u'b'tzola Toch emunei Am segula Boi chala Boi chala Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Malachei Shalom. Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Malachei Shalom. Lecha Dodi Likrat תפיסה שהעולם נברא בשבילי, צריך אני לראות ולעיין, לראות ולעיין בכל עת בתיקון עולם, ולמלאות חסרון עולם, להתפלל בעבורם.
ישראל עמך ועל כל יושבי תבל שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם שלום רב על ישראל עמך ועל כל יושבי תבל שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם כי אתה הוא מלך אדום לכל השלום כי אתה הוא מלך אדום לכל השלום שלום רב על ישראל עמך ועל כל יושבי תבל שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך בית ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך שלום רב על ישראל עמך ועל כל יושבי תבל שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם
Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו לעסוק בדברי תורה לעסוק בדברי תורה Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו לעסוק